Welcome to the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. I'm Jasmin Haley, healthcare provider turned educator, entrepreneur, and startup strategist. Not too long ago, I was burnt out, overwhelmed, depressed, and full of fear from a toxic work environment. I created my business out of necessity to create a legacy I can be proud of today. It helps me transform the lives of women every single day to pursue their dreams and entrepreneurial goals. I created this podcast to share the empowering stories of entrepreneurial women, help you break through self-doubt to your greatness, and share business strategies to help you create a thriving and profitable business. If you are an emerging entrepreneur or business owner that wants to create the mindset needed to escape burnout, reclaim your personal power, and pursue your entrepreneurial dreams, this podcast is for you. Stay tuned and listen in.
Hey. So we've got a special episode for you in the Breakthrough to Excellence podcast. This is your host, Jasmin Haley, and I am going to be talking with you on how to make your mark on the world. And I did this training for my free Facebook group. Go ahead and check me out. I am at Breakthrough to Excellence from 9 to 5 to CEO. That's a free Facebook group. You can search that and you'll be able to find that. But I gave this training, I would say probably towards the end of 2019, something around there. Honestly, I can't fully remember. But the information that we share in this episode is really important. So I want to kind of get you to start framing your mind of remembering to check in with yourself. As emerging entrepreneurs, we are bogged down with so many things that we have to remember to do. And it can be overwhelming, right? And we set out at the beginning, we have such clear intentions, and then the marketing, the social media, the constant emails, trying to set up systems and automations and handling subcontractors. I mean, it becomes so crazy sometimes, right? And oftentimes we forget what our intentions were when we first started our business. We get to a place of burnout. Sometimes we may even ask ourselves, why am I even doing this? So in order to continue to make your mark on the world and to have it represent who it is that you are and the impact that you want to make in the world, it's really important to listen to the information that I'm sharing, but also take some time to check in with yourself. So I hope you enjoy it. Feel free to email me at btpevents@beyondtheprophy.com. Share with me your thoughts, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, good evening. Good evening. So the topic for this evening is make your mark in the world, branding yourself for business. This is a really important topic for any emerging entrepreneur, even for someone that's already had a business for a couple of years. Having clarity on what your brand represents, what you want to represent, what kind of shape you want to make in the world, is essential for you to reevaluate, to understand at the beginning of the process of your business, but also to occasionally check in with yourself and what you are doing in your business, whether it's day to day, or if you've been in business for a couple of years, you just want to make sure you stick true to that. And in some cases, you may find that after reevaluating, you need to stop everything you're doing in your business and pivot, make some sort of change or rebrand. And that's something that I am currently dealing with right now. So I'm actually looking forward to the lessons that I'm going to be learning as I'm reshaping my business and rebranding. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. It is a lot of work because you're essentially starting from scratch, depending on if your customer avatar is the same customer that you want to take care of, or perhaps they may be changing. And you'll notice that your brand has a lot to do with who you are, even if you're selling a product, and often is a representation of what makes your heart sing, So you notice that some people in their business, after a while, if they feel like it's not serving their higher purpose, or it's not something that sings to their heart, they often will leave. They will leave that business and give it all up. And sometimes you'll think to yourself, when you see that person and they've given up such a successful business, you're like, what in the world? What's wrong with them? But again, that clarity and understanding yourself and who you are and what your purpose is should be the foundation of everything that you're doing in your business. So I'm going to point out a few things that you need to check in with, particularly if you're trying to really solidify yourself in your industry, whatever your industry is, as a brand or a leader with that particular topic. So the first thing that I would state, and again, this is very simple. These are terms you already know. And these are things that you've already have heard. These are phrases that you've heard over and over and over again. But there's a reason why, whether you hear from me or you hear from someone else, why we continuously hear the same people telling us the same thing. The first one is that you need to know and understand who you are. That simple, right? So if you know that you are not the best writer, right? And you really struggle with that, then perhaps focusing your whole business model on writing isn't the best decision, right? Why put yourself in a situation where you're spending all of this hours and time to just write one blog article where you've kind of done 10 videos based on the content, the same amount of content, and been able to serve and give value to the customers that you're trying to reach? So understanding who you are is fundamental because it will keep you away from things that are going to lead you to being unproductive. And if you're unproductive and I'm not focused on what your purpose is and what you're able to do in your business, then therefore your customers will feel it. They will feel as if they're like, what in the world is she talking about? Okay. If you're blah with writing, your customers are going to feel blah with your writing, right? So understanding who you are and what your gifts are is essential of really making your mark in the world, truly making your mark in the world. So if you look at my brand, where I make the I would say the deepest impact is when you see me in person, is when you get a chance to hear me, right? When you get to hear me talk about the subjects that I'm really passionate about. It's not from my writing. It is nothing. It has nothing to do with my writing, okay? Yes, if I have to sit down there and do it, of course. But that is a part of my business and my brand that I have learned to now give away. Let someone else do that. But at the beginning of your business, do we always have money to invest in a subcontractor? Or the money that it would take to have a copywriter or whatever the case may be? No, we may not, which is why it's important for you to remember in the process of you creating your mark in the world and in your brand is maintaining and understanding what your voice is, what your brand voice is, so that you can maintain your authenticity. So am I still writing? Do I write little blurbs here and there? Do I share certain things with my community? Absolutely, because you have to communicate with them. But I keep my focus on what it is that I love doing the most. And that's just chatting, just talking. Just talking with each of you and getting a chance to speak with you one-on-one. I love strategizing. Those are things that I really double down on. But I understand that I also need to reach you all so that you get a chance to build a relationship with me. So knowing who you are first, knowing what you're good at, focus on that. So if you're in the beginning stages of your business, how are you going to reach these customers? Where do they hang out? Where are they hanging out, right? And wherever they're hanging out, be there, be of value to them. So the second thing I'm going to say to you, because I'm actually leading into a couple of things that I wrote already. I'm skipping the line, y'all. Know who you are, but the second thing is develop your brand voice. So what is that going to represent for you? Is your brand voice going to be one of which you are completely conservative? You never use any form of slang. That's not me. If you are someone that is encouraging, empowering? Are you someone that likes to stick with just really tough talk, right? Straight facts when you're speaking to someone. When someone hears or thinks of your brand, what kind of feeling do you want to invoke in that customer? What do you want when they think of your brand? What do you want them to think? What are some of the words that may come out of their mouth when they speak of your brand? Those are the kind of things that you kind of want to think about in the process of developing your business. in the process of you even writing your email to your customers, or writing social media copy, what kind of feeling do you want to invoke in them? That will be your brand voice. For me, I come from an inner city. I can never totally be completely, now although I'm very conservative in a lot of ways, that isn't my whole character, right? Sometimes you may have a slang word here and there that you don't need, that you have no idea what I'm talking about and need to look it up, right? But that's who I am, right? I love to dance. I love to do karaoke. I love those aspects, and I never want to hide that. I want to be authentically who I am. So, what is your brand voice, and what kind of feeling do you want to evoke with your customers when they think of your brand? Or for me, I say to myself, you know, um, a few years from now, if someone says the Jasmin Haley brand, what do I want that to represent? And so that's my brand voice. Everything's about encouraging and empowering the next business owner or the next dental professional. When I first started out, all of those things were very important to me. Be sincere and be authentic. If you have tough times, if you're dealing with some tough aspects in your business, share that with your community. Your community, the people that are going to purchase from you, are developing a relationship with you. Now, you're not going to get on there and you're not going to be talking about something where you're slamming somebody because you hate their guts, Save that for your girlfriends with a glass of wine, coffee, whatever it is that you like to drink. Save that for them. But there are struggles that I do share with my community. I want them to understand that I am a human being at the end of the day. And I want them to understand, especially since I understand who my customer is that, hey, these are the struggles I went through. But like, if I went through them and I was able to overcome them, then so can you. And I know that my customer avatar, they deal with fear and they deal with self-doubt and overwhelm. I'm essentially talking to myself a few years ago before I started my entrepreneurial journey. That's my customer. So think about who are you serving? If you are a speaker, who is it that you really want to reach when you're out there speaking on your topic that you're very, very passionate about? All of those things are things that you want to consider. And how can you be sincere? How can you be authentic? How can you relate to them? What you want is that when people read your email copy, when they read your social media copy, when they get a chance to see you in person, whatever it is, you want them to say, you know what, Jasmin, or whatever your name is. I always like to say Susie. Susie, I really felt like you were speaking to me. Like, you have no idea the words that you put in here, how much it really touched me. And I'm telling you, y'all, when you have someone that takes the time out to write you one of those messages, to sit and write you an email, send you a Facebook message, and they tell you that keeps you going. That really keeps you going, especially on those rough days where you feel like hanging it all up. So when you understand your brand and how you want to make your mark in the world, you'll notice that you'll get more and more people telling you that, because you would have true clarity on who it is that you're serving. It would also help when you get the people that aren't your part of your tribe, because there are going to be some people that are like that who aren't your customer avatar, that will say something very nasty or negative. And you'll have to realize at that point, this isn't the person I'm trying to serve. And so there almost has to be an emotional detachment from certain aspects of your brand, and along with putting yourself out there, which keeps people from really going out there in the world, is some of the naysayers. They get scared about putting themselves out there and what negativity will come their way. Well, here's the thing: if you know you cannot deal with it and you don't want any of it, you cannot get in business, because it will come. So what you have to keep focus on are those people that tell you, Jasmin, it made such a huge impact. Jasmin, thank you. Whatever your name is, Susie, repeat that in your head. Think of those things. And oftentimes I'll put the comments and the nice messages I get from people. Someone right here that's listening to this training, Lonnie, Okay. She wrote a beautiful message to me. I didn't get a chance to reply back, but those are things that I put on the side that I can read later on those really tough days that come. All right. Making your mark in the world and branding yourself for your business takes a level of boldness. You have to be so sure with yourself and know who you are and what your mission in life is and what your purpose in life is. Because again, there will be challenges and things that will come and test you and on whether or not that is the route that you should be taking. Okay. So when you are developing your brand, you may notice that there may be some challenges that come your way. For instance, when I first started speaking, I did a topic on a vulnerable population, and this topic was not a popular topic. And at that time, I was presenting at a national conference, and then I was contacted by the national conference that said, hey, we have these professionals who are concerned with this topic. They think that it's not necessary, that we need to pull it from the program. This is a national conference calling me, okay? And we don't know how to respond back to them. This was my first national speaking conference, my first professional continuing education conference. And let me tell you, when I learned of that, it took me aback. Immediately, I started thinking, I can't do this. Oh no, I can't. I don't know what to do. Maybe they're right. People are questioning me. They are very adamant. I mean, they have the nerve to contact the National Association and say, pull this from the program. That's pretty powerful, right? And so when I considered, okay, am I doing this for me? Is it for my ego? Or is it really to really help this vulnerable population that I know statistically is dealing with some really difficult situations, and I need to bring awareness to it? And so what I decided to do at that point was explain back to them professionally how to respond and show up anyway. And although I was tagged in another conversation about that topic on a social media platform from a friend, I decided, okay, here's the time where I need to put the blinders on and just stay focused. So when it comes to your brand, do I need to go in and, some of you may hear me joke, and often I talk about someone that's turning their neck like this and they've got the attitude. Like sometimes, yeah, my head wants to turn like this and I want to get all crazy and have like one eye closed and one eye open and look nuts and tell you off and feel good and lay down and feel great, at the end of the day, of course I want to do that. I am human. Some people need to be told. Okay. My mom used to say that. She was one that she always chose every battle. She could never be a public brand. Okay. I don't know. Because she chose every battle. But I choose to pour my energy into things that I know that could eventually impact. And in that situation, I think it was either the second or top rated CE course for that conference. Even though I was dealing with some of that weight on my shoulders from some of the comments that were being made. So being bold is necessary in making your mark in the world, and understanding how to reach out to the people who truly matter. And those are the people that you're trying to shape, your customers, the people that you're reaching out to. Okay. Last thing, to make your mark in the world, to build a brand and business that's recognizable, you have to consistently show up and provide value. Consistently show up and provide value. So I am a service-based online business. That's where I want to focus. That's my focus. That's my clientele that I want to work with. And so you have to make a decision. If you're going to get into business, how are you consistently going to show up? You can't say, and I've done this, I'm guilty of this. You can't say, I'm going to have a business and I'm going to write an email once every 3 months. Now, listen, I'm guilty of this, okay? All right. Or you can't say, well, if I'm going to have this social media platform, although guys, email is way more valuable than social media. So it's okay if your social media goes away for 6 months. That's my personal opinion, by the way. But you can't say like, hey, I'm going to, provide this for you on social media, whatever that may be, and then drop off for 9 months and think your community is still going to be there waiting for you. So whichever platform you decide, which I would suggest, your biggest value is in your email list. So if you're not finding ways in order to build your email list for your brand, you're wasting your time. You have to build that because that's where you get a chance to actually have that one-on-one relationship building time. And that's what you need because someone off the street isn't going to give you money that has no idea who you are. Okay. As I told my husband, I was joking with him. I'm like, who do you think I am? Boo Boo the Fool? Right. That's what I said to him. And he was cracking up because he said something crazy to me. And I'm like, does he think I'm a joke right now? Somebody will honestly think that if you're over here asking for some money from them and you haven't done anything to say who you are, what kind of purpose that you serve, and you haven't brought any value to their life. So for those service-based online businesses, you're going to spend, especially at the very beginning of your business, like maybe over 80, close to 90% of your time providing value to them. What value are you bringing to them? And so a lot of my time at the beginning of my business was spent on free content. I did blogs and I was doing podcasts. And eventually my brand became more recognizable. In addition to that, even now with my speaking, I don't send out anything. I don't, before when I first started my speaking career, I sent out emails. Only one person replied. It was over like 50 emails. One person replied, no, I'm sorry, and that was because they knew me, you know, it was crickets, right? And said, okay, all right, I'm going to keep being consistent. I'm going to keep bringing value. And then I had this first speaking gig, and then I gave my next one and my next one. And then all of a sudden someone said, I heard you speak at so-and-so, and we would love to have you back, because my goal was to make my mark in the world wherever it was going to be. So if I was going to do that speaking gig, even though it may have been free at the time, I was going to give all my whole being there. And if I can get some tears from the people that are there in that CE course, because yes, that's where I go, that's how I know that I've reached here. Because my primary goal is to reach the heart. And I know if I can reach the heart, then I know that somewhere, some shape or form, my message will stay in that person where it may encourage them to act, whatever that may be. So consistency and value is important. Now, many of us, we have our own jobs. I get that. And we may not be in a place where we're able to do our business full time. That is fine. But set a date and set a frequency. If that is one day a week, if it's two, 1 day a week, what am I talking about? Once a week, right? 4 times a month. Or is it, I would say the minimum, try to do it at least 2 times a month. If you're going to do anything, do it twice. 2 times a month is a great way to kind of start. Waiting once a month is really pushing it, because at that point, it may be hard for you to keep up. It's not totally possible because, guys, I was not always consistent with my newsletter. Some of you have been following me from the beginning. All of a sudden I show up and it's been like 2 months and like, oh, okay. So I get it. I understand. But I realize though, the more I stay in contact, the more I try to reach out and provide value, the more my ideal customer shows up. and says, hey, how can I be of assistance? Hey, these words really helped me. And the whole purpose of my customer avatar is to really help and provide value for them right now, not 2-3 months later from now, but right now. So consider, again, I'm going to run down really quickly. And of course, this will be shared at another time. Know who you are. Make sure you understand what your brand voice is. And to maintain your authenticity is very, very important. You need to be bold because at some point someone will question and may make it difficult for you to uphold the standards that you've set for yourself for your brand. And then you have to consistently provide some sort of value. And I just want to give you another comment here in regards to being a speaker, because say, for instance, you're not a coach or you're not providing courses as trainings, but you are a speaker. You go out and you give professional trainings that are out there. You can still take the time to gather an email list. So if your primary model is just speaking, every time you speak, you need to be collecting emails. And you have to figure out, well, what is my opt-in going to be? Well, don't give out all your handouts. Save that very good one, that best one, for those who opt in. So in time, all of those people that you meet, every single time that you're speaking, they get a chance to know who you are. And maybe, just maybe, someone within that group that saw you will invite you to your next speaking gig, because you would have stayed on the top of their mind because you would have found a way to connect with them. So whether you have a service-based business or a product-based business, or if you're speaking or coaching, you have to find a way, how can I provide some value to them, whatever your expertise may be, and what are some ways in which I can get people to opt in so that I can establish that relationship for the long term. That's how you make your mark in the world. That's how you consistently brand yourself for your business. And the number one thing that I want to say, that all of these things that I've shared with you, what it falls underneath, it actually falls underneath a whole tier, is who your customer avatar is. So your brand voice and who you want to serve and how you're maintaining your authenticity, your boldness, your consistency and value, all of that means nothing if you don't know who you're speaking to. So who are you speaking to, right? As we build these things, as we think about who we want to represent, who are you speaking to? Is it clinicians? Is it business owners? Is it mothers? If you don't know who you're speaking to, you can be all of these things that we've listed today, and you would get nowhere in your business. So part of developing that relationship is knowing who you're serving and being very clear on that. So if you're in the midst of your business right now and you don't know who the heck you're serving, stop everything. I remember a coach told me, and this was right before I decided to give up everything that was making revenue for me in Beyond the Prophy. They told me, Jasmin, you need to quit everything. I don't even know who you're talking to. You're all over the place. And I was taken aback. I was like, she doesn't understand. She doesn't understand. Yes, she's got a global community. So what? She is not in dentistry, right? That's my initial reaction of being defensive. But then I was thinking to myself, well, man, she's right. She's really right. And so I was willing to pump the brakes on everything and say, okay, now it's time for me to get really clear about who it is that I want to serve, so that when someone says Jasmin Haley, they associate this. They're not going to say to me, which they used to say to me a lot in the beginning of my business, whoa, what is it that you do? They said it just like that. What is it that you do, right? They weren't clear because I wasn't clear. So if you're lacking the people who are asking for your services, it's because you're not clear about what it is that you do. You're not clear on what problem that you're serving. solving, you're also not clear on who you're trying to serve. And then you got to stay in their face. And that's the consistency and value. Stay in their face. And then the second that you feel like, oh, I'm doing this too much. Now, here's a little bit, it can be sometimes some people are a little bit of a sleazy salesman. I have seen that. And I'm like, oh, right. But if you're providing value, people would be receptive to that. All right. That's my talk for this evening. And I thank you for joining me. Thanks for tuning into the show. Dive in deeper by visiting the show notes for this episode or listening to more episodes on JasminHaley.com. If you found value in the show, share with a friend or leave us a review. I'll see you next time.